Namaskar all. Rani Lakshmibai Part 2. Sepoy Mutiny. In the histories written by the British rulers, the flood of the people's wrath was described to suit them as the Sepoy Mutiny. This gives the impression that only soldiers took part in the uprising and no others. It is true the soldiers took a leading part in this people's war, but they were not the only ones who rose in revolt. Not only the Rajas, Maharajas, chieftains, Peshwas, Nawabs, and the emperors of Delhi, but also Hindus, Muslims, Maulvis, and Purohits, that is, the priests, joined the revolt. Most important of all, women played an important role. The bloodbath went on for 18 to 20 months. It is true that, as history has described, we were defeated. It is no shame for a country in subjection to be defeated any number of times in its fight for freedom. The struggle itself is the mark of living people. That itself is glory. Bharat is a vast country. The British found a fertile land for their trade. They could freely buy raw materials here and sell the finished product here at 4 times its price and fill their coffers. The disunity among the Bhartiyas was the secret of the East India Company's success. In 1752, when the Mughal emperor's permission to trade was sought on bended knees by the British, the company had 3 godowns. The total areas of land in their possession was only 20 square miles. 100 years later, the area of land ruled by them was 6.5 lakh square miles. It was not enough for the company that the country's political and economic life came under its control. The company wanted Bharat to accept its religion too. It strengthened its efforts to spread Christianity. Thus, there were several causes for the people agitation. The spreading fire. There was no change in the routine of the Rani. In the midst of worship, prayer, and religious discourses, preparations for the war went on. Your Highness, why still this training for fighting? Can you not set apart some more time for meditation upon God? Questioned a bosom friend once. I am a Kshatriya woman. I am doing my duty. It is the duty of Kshatriyas to protect the country and justice. If necessary, we must be prepared to fight. I cannot surrender to any enemy. I cannot just weep and die like a helpless widow. I shall fight for my cause and accept death with a smile. On 4th June, the revolution burst in Kanpur. Signs of troubles were seen in Jhansi the same day. One Havildar with a few soldiers entered the Star Fort, newly constructed by the British, and seized war materials and money. Immediately arrangements were made to shift the British women and children who were in their camp. The British officers came to request Rani's help. We are quite confident of bringing the situation under control. But at this difficult time, you must also help us, they requested. The Rani replied, I do not have an army or weapons. If you agree, I am prepared to get together an army to protect the people. The British agreed to the proposal. But when, on the very next day, the soldiers shot and killed a British officer, they were alarmed. At once, the senior officer raced to the Rani. He said, We are men, we are not worried about ourselves. But you must afford shelter to our women and children in your palace. The Rani's friends advised her not to make any such promises, but she said firmly, Our war is only against the men among the English, not against women and children. If I cannot check our soldier in this matter, how can I be their leader? The English women and children will get shelter in the palace immediately. So assured the Rani, and not only this, she fed and took care of them throughout the war. The leaderless army had scored a victory over the British. The soldiers wished to loot Jhansi. The Rani then gave her jewels and money to the soldiers, and they were satisfied. The army marched towards Delhi, the happy home of freedom. The Rani took action at once to end the anarchy. The chieftains and commanders begged the Rani with one voice to become the ruler of the state. The Rani consented. Once again, the flag of the state fluttered gaily on the top of the fort. Jhansi prepared for war, working day and night. New arms were manufactured, but within a period of 4 or 5 days, a new danger confronted the Rani. Thinking that Jhansi was being ruled by a weak woman, one Sadashiv Rao rebelled in a part of the state and proclaimed himself the king. Immediately, the Maharani went there and put down the rebellion. Light and shade of victory and defeat. An army under the command of Sir Hugh Rose reached Jhansi. He sent word to the Maharani to come unarmed along with her friends and meet him. But the Rani refused. She replied that she would go to any meeting only with her army. Within a period of 10 months, June 1857 to March 1858, after Lakshmibai took over the administration of Jhansi from the British, it had improved. The treasury was full. The army was well organized. There was an army of women matching the army of men. The Rani had named some of her guns Mighty Rod, Bhavani Shankar, and Lightning Streak. These guns were being fired by turns by men and women. Old weapons were sharpened, new weapons were got ready. During those days, every house in Jhansi was busy preparing of the war, and everything was done under the guidance of the Maharani. The army under Sir Hugh Rose declared war on 23rd March 1858. For 10 or 12 days, the tiny state of Jhansi marched in the light and the shadow of victory and defeat. The relief of one success was followed the next moment by the shock of a defeat. Many faithful Sardars fell. Unfortunately, no help came from outside. The goddess of war. When the British gained the upper hand and Hugh Rose's army entered Jhansi city, the Rani herself took up arms. She put on the clothes of a man and she fought like the goddess of the war. Whenever she fought, the British army bowed down. Her organization of her forces and her fight, worthy of a man, surprised Hugh Rose. When the situation went out of the control, the Maharani called the courtiers who yet remained and placed her suggestion before them. Our commanders and our heroic soldiers and artillerymen are not with us now. Of the 4,000 soldiers in the fort, not even 400 are left now. The fort is not strong. Therefore, we must leave this place as early as possible. We must organize an army and then attack again. The nobleman agreed. Accompanied by some warriors, the Rani forced her way through the enemy lines and departed from Jhansi. A British officer, Broker by name, followed her with an army. He was himself injured during the fighting and retreated. The Rani's horse died. Even then she did not lose heart but went to Kalpi and joined Tatya Tope and Rao Sahib before the light went out. Even in Kalpi, the Rani was busy getting together an army. Euros laid siege to Kalpi. When defeat was certain, Rao Sahib, Tatya, and others fled with the Rani towards Gwalior. They reached Gopalpur and took rest in a grove. During the night, Rao Sahib, Tatya, and Nawab of Banda held the council, and the next morning met the Rani. They had lost the will to fight. The Rani said, "We have so far stayed inside the fort and faced the British. That is what we should continue to do. Gwalior fort is near here. It is true that the Raja there is inclined towards the British, but I know that the army and the people are against British. In addition, there is already a huge stock of guns and ammunition there." The Rani's suggestion was acceptable to the noblemen. When Tatya Tope reached Gwalior with a small army, the greater part of the army in Gwalior cooperated. The Raja of Gwalior ran away and sought the protection of the British at Agra. But what happened thereafter was a repetition of the earlier foolishness. Expect the Rani and her friends. The leaders indulged in merrymaking. The timely warning of the Rani wafted away on the air. The Rani, who was away from such revelry, undertook inspection of the vulnerable parts of the Gwalior fort. She prepared a stronghold, but the other leaders did not lend their ears to the advice of this lady. The end of the war. Euros played a trick. He brought to Gwalior Maharaja Jayaji Rao Sindhia, who had run away from Gwalior and was living in Agra under the protection of the British. The British are fighting to enable Maharaja Jayaji Rao to get back the throne. Therefore, all soldiers who return will be pardoned, proclaimed Rose. Now some wisdom dawned on the Peshwas. They were ashamed to face Rani Lakshmibai. Finally, they sent Tatya Tope. When they begged for pardon, the Rani placed before them her plan of war. Tatya Tope accepted it. Although the Rani's forces were small in numbers, the extraordinary courage of the Sardars and the war strategy and courage of the Rani inflicted defeat on the British army. The day's victory was due to the Rani. Next day, 18th, before sunrise, the British war bugle sounded. The pardon proclaimed by Maharaja Jayaji Rao had tempted some soldiers and they had joined the British. Information was also received that 2 brigades who were under the Rao Sahib had again transferred their allegiance to the British. Rani Lakshmibai sent for Ramchandra Rao Deshmukh and said, "Today appears to be the last day of the war. If I die, consider my son Damodar more precious than my life and take care of him. One word more, if I die, make sure that my body does not fall into the hands of those who do not belong to my religion." As expected, that day Rose had the upper hand. A large part of the army of revolutionaries fell. Their guns fell into the hands of the British. The British army entered the fort swift as a flood. There was no other course for the Rani than to escape from that palace. Holding the horse reins in her teeth and flashing the sword with both the hands, the Rani rode away. A few Pathan Sardars, Raghunath Singh and Ramchandra Rao Deshmukh were with her. The British army had encircled them. Blood was flowing freely. The sun had the same hue in the western horizon. Darkness was approaching. A British soldier who came very near threw a dagger at the Rani's chest. It struck her a little below the chest. The Rani killed the soldier. Blood was flowing from her body, but there was no time to rest. The British army was pursuing her. When the Rani was about to cross the Swarnarekha Canal, a shot from the gun of a British soldier who came there struck her right thigh. Flashing the sword with her left hand, the Rani put an end to him. The cruel blow, the end. Even the horse she had chosen for the hour of danger did not help. One thing was numb. Blood was flowing from stomach. The sword cut inflicted by a British soldier who followed her speedily tore the right cheek. Her eyeball was wrenched. Even then, with her left hand, she cut off the arm of that soldier. Gul Muhammad, who was the bodyguard of the Rani, could not bear his sorrow. He, a warrior who had fought bravely, began to weep. Raghunath Singh and Ramchandra Rao Deshmukh helped the Rani to dismount from her horse. Raghunath Singh said, "There is not a moment to lose. We must quickly reach the house of Baba Gangadas nearby." Ramchandra Rao put the weeping boy Damodar on a horse, took the Rani's body on his lap, and raced towards Saint Baba Gangadas' house. Raghunath Singh and Gul Muhammad followed as bodyguards. Even in darkness, Baba Gangadas recognized the Rani's blood-stained face. They washed the face with cold water. They poured water from the holy Ganga into her mouth. She recovered a little and with trembling lips muttered, "Har Har Mahadev." Thereafter she became unconscious. A little later the Rani opened her eyes with difficulty. She was then muttering stanzas from the Bhagavad Gita, which she had learnt by heart in her childhood. The voice grew feebler. Her last words were, "Vasudeva, I bow to you. The fortune of Jhansi set." Raghunath Singh, Gul Muhammad and Damodar Rao shed tears. In a solemn voice, Baba Gangadas said, "Brightness has not ended. It is hidden in every atom. It shines again at the proper time." The incomparable Rani's body disappeared in flames. A glorious woman. Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai brought glory to the woman of Bharatiya, nay, to the woman of the world. Her life was sacred hymn. Her life is a thrilling story of womanliness, courage, adventure, deathless, patriotism, and martyrdom. She was a woman, although in her tender body there was a lion spirit, but she was well versed in statesmanship. Like all women, she was weak, but when she went to war and took up arms, she was the very embodiment of the war goddess Kali. She was beautiful and frail, but her radiance made men diffident. She was young in years, but her foresight and firm decisions were mature. When, after growing up under the loving care of her father, she entered her husband's house, she became an ideal wife. On the death of her husband, although she lost interest in life, she did not forget her responsibilities. She was a staunch Hindu, but because she was tolerant of other religions, when she led an army in a great war, Muslims followed her first as the Hindu did. Lakshmibai lived for 22 years and 7 months, from the 19th of November 1835 to the 18th of June 1858. She flashed and disappeared like lightning on a dark night. The words of the British General Sir Hugh Rose, who fought against the Rani several times and was defeated again and again, and finally defeated the Rani, who became the victim of circumstances, bear witness to her greatness. of the mutineers, the bravest and the greatest commander was the Rani.